I'm with Declan Amphlett, the Monster Raving Loony Party candidate for this Bromsgrove School mock election. I've got a few questions for you, Declan. There's been a lot about the 6-inch rule, and I know it's a petty kind of little rule that says boys and girls can't become within 6 inches. But what are your views on this big issue?
Well, I think it's not that big an issue. I think in our culture today, it's become, we've become less. It's sex and relationships between boys and girls has become less taboo, and I think that we should follow in the progression.
But don't you think it might deteriorate the school values or?
Well, I'm not saying that we should boys and girls should be walking around snogging or anything. I think holding hands maybe that's probably acceptable. I think as a whole the 6-inch rule is a bit silly, but in schools I think schools should be able to implement their own rules.
Now we had a debate. It was on the Friday.
Yes.
And there were all the candidates were there. And you, obviously, being one of the only people from Monster Raving Loony Party, am I correct?
Yes, I am.
But you stood up there and you were quite confident. But what I really noticed was your body language, and it was a bit small. So were you a bit intimidated by the other people?
I think the Tories are being slightly more sort of throwing their weight around than they should be. They're going, oh, we've got the most support, look at us, we're fine. But I think that isn't the case. I think we've seen from the televised debates at the moment that although people were voting Tory before, maybe they've moved to Lib Dem. Some people maybe even voting UKIP. We've seen some people have been emailed about it. UKIP have started a campaign as well. So I think the Tories should be a little less sort of throwing their weight around and being all, oh, look at us, we're the best party, and be a bit more serious actually.
Yeah. Another thing as well, what I noticed is, why should the people vote for you if you are, as you call it, a joke party?
Well, people like jokes. I don't see what's wrong with having a laugh every so often. People say the politicians are jokes. Let us make it a funny joke.
But do you think that being funny is a major aspect of a political dimension?
It's got to be a little light-hearted. Yes, we are a bit of a joke party. We've started by screaming Lord Such a while back, and I don't think. I don't believe that we'll be elected, and I don't think we'll have a proper. I think it will probably be one of the serious parties: Conservatives, UKIP, Labour, Lib Dem. Not Let's Have a Party. That's even worse.
No.
But I think it's at least good to have a little eccentricity, colour in these elections. I mean, we've got Labour, Lib Dem, Conservative, and Nick Clegg's been saying, oh, we're bored of the old 2-party system. We're bored of the old 3-party system. We thought, oh, why don't we have another dimension, maybe a sillier dimension.
Okay, one last thing, and this is a big issue really. Bromsgrove School is noted as being a bit of having a huge carbon footprint. We don't have recycling bins in school. We make our the school does sandwiches in unrecyclable sandwich boxes, and they're not recycled; they're just thrown away. What would you do as a party for this school, as for the environment?
We have to look at this environmental problem and see. Well, is it happening? I mean, we don't know. No one is sure on this issue of global warming. Now, if it is the case that it's happening and it is a major problem, one small school, well, it's quite a large school, but one school in one country in a huge world, it's a tiny proportion of the environmental problem. And I don't think that recycling sandwich boxes is really going to help. It's been proven that 3% of carbon emissions are emitted by humans. It's mainly volcanoes, natural events, and it's only.
But are you saying that Bromsgrove School shouldn't lead the way as a school of such grandeur and such high prospects and for its pupils? Don't you think that this school should just lead the way?
Well, I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I mean, other schools have done it, so we won't be really leading the way. I think it's a good idea to do it if it's economically viable. Okay. I mean, it might be more expensive to have these recycled. I'm not sure. I don't know. But I think it would be a good idea if it's viable.
Okay. Thank you, Declan.
Thank you very much, James. Right, let's